Hey everybody, happy beautiful day, happy Sunday. This is the day that we have made as a collective mind. So if you do not like what you see, you do have to become what it is that you want to see, be, experience, and express. So happy new and beautiful, beautiful day. All right, let me go ahead and see if I can get this out. Just 1 second. Let's see right now. All right. Just for a moment. All right. All right. All right. And so, happy new and beautiful day. I'm so divinely grateful to be here, and we are going to start with our breath work, and we're going to do another combination, which is going to be the 737, where we're going to inhale 7 through our nose, hold for 3 counts, and then we're going to exhale 7 through our mouth. And what this does, is going to be able to expand our field a little bit more, so that we can be able to hold the brevity of what it is that I'm going to express today in today's transmission. Because we're going to delve a little bit more deeper into the 9th dimensional aspect of being to the 6th dimensional aspect of being, right? So that we could begin to understand the creational self, right? How we are creating our relative reality, okay? So that we could begin to understand how we are creating in form, okay? And we kind of somewhat got into it yesterday, and I'm extending the understanding of that in this arc of remembrance, so that we can begin to see where we are, how we are creating our relative reality, so that it can afford us the reality that we truly do want to experience. Because what is it that we say when we know better? Especially from an esoteric perspective or a metaphysical perspective, it gives us an opportunity to be able to do better, right? All right, so as I set the foundation for today's transmission in our breathing establishment, to clear the field, our energetic field, and to begin to relax our nervous system, so that we can receive the frequency of the transmission. I'm going to set the tone too as well, that we receive the transmission in sacred, divine, unconditional love, where there is no distortion. So we're going to set the tone in that regard, so that we can be able to receive the transmission in that foundating frequency. All right. All right. So what it is that we're doing is, once again, it's going to be the 737. All right. We're going to do this 3 times, right? And we're going to inhale through our nose and hold for 7, count for 3, count for 7, hold for 3, and exhale through our mouth for 7. And we're going to do this 3 times. All right. And so let us begin. All right. gotten that out of the way. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right. So now that we have gotten that out of the way, of course, I want to go ahead and get my disclaimers out of the way so that we have to C, Y, and A. All right. And go ahead and get that out of the way. Let me see. Just 1 second. All right. Just 1 second. Just a second. All right, so as we know, as I've always said, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I'm only here to be an illuminated breadcrumb for those who have chosen to hear what I got to say. All right, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do or how to be, because that's not what we're here for. We're just here to be way showers, to just give a perceptionary aspect of what it is that how I understand my now moment. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do or how to be, because that's not what we're here to do. All right. I'm only here to give a perception of how I understand my now moment. All right. You are quite capable of, moving in your own accordance, right? Moving in your own accordance to how you see the navigation of that. But however, I am here to give you guys something to think about, right? Anything other than that, it's just, it's just a way shower how I understand my now moment, because you came here with the tools necessary for your own awakening, for your own remembrance deep down inside, buddy love. I'm just here to give a perception to assist you in that on your journey. Okay. Hi, golden sugar. What's up, beautiful? Gratitude for your presence. Thank you for divinely tuning into my frequency, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you got the notification. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. And any celebrity, content creator, or anybody for that matter that I speak upon on this platform, all information is heavily, heavily alleged, for I was not there to account or attest the validity of such said information that has been placed out there for public consumption. So it could be not. I don't know. I'm only utilizing that information for whatever it is that I'm talking about or making reference to in this transmission that I am using as an example. But anything other than that, all that information is heavily, heavily, heavily alleged. All right. Just using it as an example. And last but not least, this transmission, any information, anybody that has an opinion that they want to place value in this transmission, no matter what frequency or whatever that is placed here, all of it is through divine unconditional love. There is no judgment, because to judge you is to judge myself, right? So it's moved in the premise of divine unconditional love. To judge you is to judge myself. So it is in harmony and divine unconditional love. There is no judgment, no distortion. All right. So as I've said, at the beginning of the live, we are talking, and we're going to make a continuum. There has been more clarity in terms of how I'm understanding the multidimensional you, and I want to bring more focus on the top tier aspect of the creational you. And the reason being is because I think this is the more critical part of how you create your reality. And because this is what translate down into the fifth dimensional you, right? This is what translate down into the fifth dimensional you, okay? And so when, as I was saying in all of my transmissions that I've been saying as of lately, more of what it is that I thank you for the love, whoever is sending me the love. I'm so divinely grateful. What you are going to get here is more of the tone than that to which the story is already created. But I'm going to go a little bit more deeper into why the significant, the true significance of why this is so important. Why this is so important. And the calming of, this aspect of why this is so pristine, and why this is going to feel so pristine, and why this is going to feel so opulent, why this is going to feel so calming, because this is the aspect of the divine self that when we were operating in the forgotten self, and we were introduced in our birthing, when we came into the experience, we inherited a three-dimensional concept. Okay, we inherited a three-dimensional concept. We inherited a three-dimensional story. We inherited three-dimensional parenting. We inherited so many three-dimensional concepts, and we pretty much had to figure out how to navigate through that process without really understanding how this thing actually goes. But with me coming into the remembrance of understanding how this actually now goes, and understanding the ninth dimensional self, the eighth dimensional self, the seventh dimensional self, and then the sixth dimensional self, listen, there is such peace and serenity in these particular versions of selves. I can understand why the fifth dimensional self has such peace and serenity, and why they say, in going into the fifth dimensional self, they call it what it called. They call the fifth dimensional self the golden age, or the peaceful place, or the harmony. I can see why, because in the creational value, in the knowing state, it is very, very, very peaceful. And now that I got the grasp and the understanding of how that is conveyed in the tone alone, without the chaos, without the confusion, without the distortion, I really want to give that to you guys in terms of how they understand. Now, there are some beings that still wants to experience the reality in that vibrational context. Okay, there are some beings that still want to experience the chaos. They still want to experience the confusion and different things of that nature, because it brings a sense of whatever it brings. Excitement. It has a whole lot of whatever it has in that space of energy. Okay, and I get that. There is no judgment in terms of how one wants to experience and express the reality. But I want to give, my due diligence in terms of how I understand my now moment, for those who are truly ready to understand the dynamic of the dimensional selves. Because, like I said, there's a version that is a distorted version, and then there's the version that is without distortion. Okay, now many of us understands the inverted version of the dimensional selves. Many of us don't even understand the dimensional selves in the manner to which how it correlates energetically in alignment. The stories that we were given and talking about, oh, you got to get in alignment with the reality to how you want to experience. And we didn't even understand, okay, well, what are we trying to get in alignment with? We never knew that the alignment is the dimensional selves. We thought we had to get in alignment with the reality that we wanted to be a part of, that we wanted to experience, and not really understanding that the alignment to the reality is the dimensional self, because each dimensional self is what energetically houses the alignment. Okay, to you the being that is experiencing and expressing, each dimensional self is what is the alignment to the reality of how the reality is actually created. Okay, so I'm going to get into where all of it takes place before it actually takes form. And when we used to always say, oh, as you know, as above, so it is below and everything. And we used to say as above, so below, but we never understood it from the dimensional self as to how the as above, so below actually correlated in terms of what that actually meant when it came down to you. So this is the next step in the higher aspect of the evolution, or in the higher aspect of the higher self, to how to understand and to be able to integrate what that actually means esoterically when it comes to you in the creation of your reality and everything. And yes, I actually am going to go based on my outline today, because I want to be real specific about the dimensional selves, so that you can understand how that actually goes. All right, so when they used to talk about 9 is completion and everything like that, yes, I'm finna get into it, because we've heard all of the rumors about, oh, 9 mean completion. 9s was thrown all over the place. 9 mean completion. We knew everything about the 9 except how it was relative to you in the dimensional self. Okay, and we heard about the 9 ether being and what the 9 ether being meant and all this other kind of stuff, and the storyline to what the 9 ether being meant in terms of the storyline of the 9 ether being. But we never understood. Everything was going in circles, but in chaos and confusion in the third dimensional mind, the chaos and confusion about the 9 ether being and everything in terms of how we understood 999 in the 3D distorted version of self was all over the place. Okay, but now we're going to bring it into, without the distortion, without all of the chaos and without all of the confusion. We're going to bring it into a sense of clarity, and we're going to bring it into a sense of understanding. So yes, they talk about the 9 being completion, and they made it seem like 9 was the final aspect of it, when in actual reality, that's where everything begins to understand. That's where you actually begin to create the understanding that you are the wholeness of consciousness. This is where consciousness began to understand itself, saying, I am whole. Consciousness knows that it is whole, that it's not distorted, that it's not, that it's not in any type of chaos and any type of confusion. It knows that it's whole. So whereas in chaos and confusion in the third density of self, we thought that 9 was the final call, that 9 was the final call of everything, that 9 was the end. Where in actual reality, 9 is the beginning. This is where you now is in wholeness. You realize that, no, this is where it begins. This is where I'm coming to the realization where I can now flip the script and change the way that I think, the way that I understand myself, the way that I now am going to now create my reality. You guys, and if, as I said, this is going to give you a whole nother different perceptionary measure of how you understand your now moment. Because if you are trying to figure out how this actually goes in the third dimensional self, distorted, where it has been inverted, it's going to give you a flip and reverse perception to who you truly are. It's going to give you a mirrored reverse ideology of that to where you are. So everybody thinking that the 9 is the completion, and 9 is not the completion. It's the beginning of how, if you take the flip and reverse it, 9 is the beginning. It's not the ending. 9 is the beginning, it's not the ending. So if you understood 9 in the third dimensional self, in chaos and confusion, to be the ending of something, it's not the ending, it is the beginning. If you understood the 9 in third dimensional sense of understanding as something as the ending, it is not the ending, it is the beginning. Because the 9 of self is when you know that you are whole. It's the energy version of you And if you conceptualize that understanding in physical form, where you began to understand that in the third dimensional level of consciousness, and you think that that's the end, no, that's where creation, that's where the energy version of you came into the knowing of self, that you, okay, this is, I'm energy, I'm tone, and I'm like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get it together to try to say, okay, I'm finna diverse myself into these vibrational states. How do I want to do this? Okay? It's not the end. It's the beginning. Ooh. Hercules. It's not the end, it's the beginning. Okay? This is peace. This is harmony. This is the true essence of divine unconditional love, because now where we were trying to understand this same conceptual aspect of being in the third dimensional mind, how could you understand the true version of selves in an inverted state of being, the flip and reverse? It was flipped and it was verse. They had reversed. They had us believing that the 9 was the completion. No, the 9 is the beginning when you reverse it back into its true state. Okay? So now that you know that you, okay, well, 9 is the beginning. I'm whole, I'm complete. There is no invertedness, there is no distortion. I'm back in my original state energetically. My higher state, my higher form of self. Okay, I'm remembrance of self. I'm back in the wholeness of consciousness. My consciousness is intact. It's not inverted. Okay. It's not distorted. It's not dissonant. I'm in my 9th dimensional aspect of being. So now, in my 8th dimensional self, because if I was in my inverted state, in my 3rd dimensional self, my 8th dimensional self was also inverted too. So instead of me operating from my abundant state in my 8th dimensional self, my 8th dimensional self was operating inverted, flipped, and reversed, which was operating in a lack state. So now that I have reversed the polarity of it, so now my 8th dimensional state of being is no longer working in reverse. I done flipped the pole. Because I came out of my 3rd dimensional level of consciousness in the inverted state, and I went back to my 9th dimensional self. I went right back to the beginning of, you guys. I'm coming pure. Pure tone. I'm grateful. I really am. I woke up this Friday. Oh, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So 9 is not completion. 9 is when you realize that you are whole. Okay. Because if you're trying to figure out 9 in the inverted aspect of you, so those who are saying 9 is completion, you're still operating from the 3rd dimensional level of consciousness distorted, and you're thinking that 9 is complete in inverted sense of understanding. 9 is not in completion. 9 is not complete. 9 is where you are beginning to know that you are consciousness. You know that you are consciousness, and you are now coming into the understanding of how you want to express yourself dimensionally in form. The ninth dimensional you is the aspect of the divine self that is never in the distortion, and it is the aspect of self that is never distorted. The mirror is reversed and inverted all the way up to the 8th dimensional self. The 8th dimensional self is the wealth of you. The 7th dimensional self is the author of you. The 6th dimensional self is the light of you. The 5th dimensional self is the surety of you in terms of the form of how you are going to now just express that in formation. The fall of you, right, into the 3rd density creates the emotional field of you, which is the 4th dimensional self. The field of emotion. And the 3rd dimensional self, right? The 3D you is the who am I? The discovery of self. What am I? And the distorted 3rd dimensional self is the inverted you. The dissonance that places you in survival. Yes. Golden Sugar say flip the poles, flip the levels. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. So when you begin now to author your reality, when you come back onto the 9th dimensional self and understand the wholeness that you are in consciousness, and you realize that, oh goodness, I'm not, I'm whole. I'm whole. It's nothing distorted about me. You know the tone. This is why I say when you come back up to the 9th dimensional self, when you begin to hear the stories, you now can read the tones. You know when the stories are distorted. You know when it's inverted. You know the fear-based realities. You know you can read the tones because you're no longer under the illusion. You're no longer under the coercions. You know tone because you're no longer in, you just know the tones when you hear it. Now you're not going to be like, you're not in the judgment phase of it or anything like that. It's just that you now are consciously aware of thyself. So now you can navigate the reality. Your whole different perspectives is now. So when you author your reality in the 7th dimensional self, so now your 8th dimensional self is your wealth dial. So now you have shifted out of the wealth dial of the inverted side of lack, to which your 3rd dimensional survival self had you flipped, inverted it from experiencing your abundance in a state of opulence, your opulent self into the lack self, right? You flip that, your 8th dimensional self. So now you're experiencing that to which you were experiencing in lack and no worth, your worthiness. Okay, your self-worth is your 8th dimensional self. How do you see your worth? Because in the 3rd dimensional distorted version of self, your worth was always in question. Oh. Quantum simplified. Let me put it on pause a little bit. This is why I say everything that you ever need is within. And I say this is because in the third density, they tried to make this thing so complicated, so chaotic, so confusing. And I said, no. I said, no. It's not confusing. It can't be. I knew it wasn't deep down inside of my soul. I knew that it wasn't. And for those of you guys that are confused about yourself and knowing and different things of that nature, however you need to understand it, you have to say that to yourself, this ain't it. It's not confusing. And it will be revealed. It might take a minute, but you will get it. It's deep down inside, buddy love. It's there. You will get it. It will come to you. It will come to you. So those who think that the 9 is the completion, is operating from an inverted sense of understanding in the third dimensional self, because they think 9 is complete. No, flip it. Flip it and reverse it. You're mirrored. You're mirrored all the way from the 8th dimensional self all the way down. If you do not know self, if you do not know the true you, if you do not understand the true you, then you're inverted. You're inverted yourself. You have inverted yourself at the third dimensional level of consciousness. When you are in the 3D, you're mirrored. And when you're operating from the third dimensional self, your 8th dimensional self all the way down to the third dimensional self is mirrored, inverted. You're trying to figure it out. So you may be operating from your 8th dimensional self all the way down to your third dimensional self. You're mirrored. You may be operating in lack, or you may be operating in abundance. You may be, everything is mirrored. You're going to mirror yourself. You're going to mirror yourself from the 8th dimensional self, the 7th dimensional. You're going to be right in some, you might be right in some things that's, that is on the side of truth. And then you might be right in some things that may, be a little bit questionable. Okay. But when you are 3D distorted, now it is inverted. Okay. That's where Missy say flip it and reverse it. Because then that's where you're in survival and it is distorted. Okay? 3D distorted. Okay? So when you know truth, when you're operating in your authenticity, undistorted, you don't need no mirrors. Mirrors dissolve because you know truth. You know who you are. And you don't need no reflection of nobody else. You're in pure sovereign authorship, and you don't need mirrors dissolve. You don't need no mirrors anymore. You don't need no reflection of anything because mirrors are dissolved all the way from So let's talk about these. Let's talk about these dimensions. All right. 9th dimension, unity awareness. Okay. 9th dimension has unity awareness. There's nothing to fix. Everything is potential. Everything is potential. You are the observer behind all dimensions, right? The ninth dimensional self is source realizing that it can see itself. So it's like source is saying, I have come into the essence where I can see myself in every phase, from the rooter to the tutor, from the most benevolent to the most egregious, to the most distorted. Okay? Hi, Rosa. Hi, beautiful. Gratitude for your presence. Thank you for divinely tuning into my frequency. I'm so divinely grateful. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. And whomever is on the YouTube side, thank you for the love. I'm so divinely grateful to have you. I think I got an idea of who it is, but I haven't seen them yet. But I don't want to be premature and say somebody else's name and then it's not, but I think I know who it is. I'm grateful. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you, Rosa. Right? So the ninth dimensional self is unity awareness. Okay? It's source realizing that it can see itself. Okay? So that is the aspect of self that is not distorted, mirrored, or inverted. Okay? The eighth dimensional self is the intention and abundance tone. This is where you now is setting the tone of how you want to experience the reality. Now, when you know who you are without distortion. So let's say in the beginning, when there was no fall and there was when source was in the essence of just now, creating and have no idea about falling into a field of energy as dense as the third density, right? There was no reason for it to have mirrors. So it was just creating. It was just on a creating path. So it was formulating, everything was just abundant. It wasn't moving in a fixed, an operation of lack. It didn't have any polarity. So everything was just abundant and full and flourishing. It was creating as it is. Abundant, the abundant that it is, that source is. Okay? YouTube on this side, IG on this side. So if you guys see me going back and forth, just letting you guys know. So YouTube on this side, IG on this side, okay? So it was creating as it is, right? Source was creating as it is. So how does this matriculate to you as a being that is an aspect of source also creating? So your eighth dimensional self is, I have chosen this reality. So they're saying that you are in a third dimensional level of consciousness. But if today you choose to give up the ghost of 3D and you choose to operate from your knowing that your ninth dimensional self and you're starting over and you get your nervous system to acclimate to that to which you truly are, then you have raised the dead. You have resurrected. Okay, you resurrected from the dead, from the third dimensional self. As of today, you have raised your frequency, raised your level of consciousness, raised your state of awareness. Because once you get into this tone, and if you are tuned to it, this is why I'm damn near on repeat mode. Hell, they was on repeat mode on our asses when we was in third density. They damn sure kept us in tune to that. They kept that tuning fork on our asses on 3D. Why do you think we are so deeply attuned to that state of being? Because we were constantly in a tune fault to 3D. So why you think I'm staying on repeat to attune us to this frequency? It's a method to my madness. All right, okay. Okay? So now you are tuning yourself to your wealth dial. That's why when I used to say you are the wealth, you are the wealth. But one was like, well, how am I the wealth? How am I the wealth? Well, you got to pick a side because you are tuned to a third dimensional level of consciousness that is telling you what your worth is. Instead of you telling yourself that you are the wealth. So third dimension was telling you, oh, you ain't worthy unless you got this job, or you ain't worthy unless you got this house, or you ain't worthy unless your social economic standard is saying. So they were telling you how to allocate your wealth. When in your eighth dimensional consciousness, all you had to do was flip the script, flip the switch, allocate yourself energetically in consciousness to who you truly are. Energetically shift in knowing to who you truly are, and mean it, and undo the programming of the third dimensional consciousness to which told you who you are versus to who you truly are. Because the reality that you are in agreement with in the third dimensional level of consciousness is a program. And this is where I did a live the other day and say, what you gonna choose, the program or you? Because the program is that switch that's either inverted or mirrored. And most times, that program is an inverted aspect of being. Okay? It's not, you know the truth. You know the truth. So how are you going to decide? Are you gonna choose you, or are you gonna choose the program? So when the program is determining your worth, are you going to say, yes, that's how? Because the ninth dimensional self, when you always go back to the ninth dimensional self, the true you, who you are, that's why it's untouched. The ninth dimensional self, the 10th dimensional self, the 11th dimensional self, and the 12th dimensional self, the 13th dimensional self, the 14th dimensional self, the 15th dimensional self is untouched. That's why I said there's always a version of the divine self that is never forgotten. Never. So who you gonna believe? Never forgotten. So the ninth dimensional self says you are whole. Let me go back to the ninth dimensional self. It's nothing to fix. Everything is potential. The observer behind all dimensions. You are whole. So if you are whole, why are you believing a program that says you're not worthy? Why are you believing a program that says you are torn? You are this, you are that. Why are you believing a program that says you are poor when the eighth dimensional self says that you are abundant? It wasn't until Source decided after the fifth dimension that it wanted to experience itself inverted. So what that mean up until the fifth dimensional self, it wasn't none of that happened. It wasn't until you decided to experience the third dimensional self. So up until the fifth dimensional self, it wasn't nothing. You wasn't unworthy. You wasn't poor. You wasn't sick. You wasn't. It was not. It was none of that. It was a whole nother different calibration of how the divine was experiencing itself in the fifth dimensional level of consciousness. Not until it fell in frequency to the third dimensional level of consciousness. And then you had to begin to ask, who am I? What am I? Why am I? When am I? That's when you had to begin to question the reality. Because now you don't know. Who, what, when, where, and why. You begin to question the reality. The third, let me get to the third dimension. The third dimension excuse me, is when you begin to question the reality. Right? It's when you have to go now back into the essence of the discovery of self. You got to now rediscover your sacred self, your sovereign self. You're back into you're going now into the rediscovery of self in the third dimensional level of consciousness. You're rediscovering yourself. It wasn't until Source decided to say, I'm going to do it one more again, and I'm going to distort it and invert it. And that's when not only it begins to mirror it inverted it with the dissonance. So now everybody's like, oh, 9 is completion. No, 9 ain't completion. 9 is the beginning. 9 is number 1. And 1 is 9. So you're wondering how these people their wealth containers are, energetic containers are big, and, they're millionaires and everything because they figured the shit out esoterically. They went in and they flipped the damn script. They figured out their esoteric self. Energetically, vibrationally, and in frequency. They figured out 1 was 9 and 9 was 1. And anybody that's saying 9 is completion, they operating from a reverse polarity. It's not completion, it's the beginning. 9 is untouched. It's the true you. The true knowing. When you get back to that aspect of realizing that, and then you now can create from that value of knowing that, okay, if 9 is the true me, the true knowing, and I'm untouched, I can now create, I can start in anew. Because now I'm in that space, vibrational space of knowing that, oh, there's a reality. This is an illusion. So when they come at you with these stories talking about, yeah, I want you to be a part of this container. You know when that container is inverted. You know when that container is flipped. You know when that container is mirrored. You now know the tone of these containers because now you done went back to the 9 of you, the whole of you, and you are writing your own narrative in the perceptionary measures of awareness. You are now in the knowing state of awareness. So you don't, and 9 times out of 10, these programs, you ain't even about that life, about no inverted program. It ain't your cup of tea, because now you are aware. The only way these particular types of inverted programs and different things that could ever be a part of your reality was when you were in a state of discovery. When you're no longer in a state of discovery of self, these tones don't have any energy to hang on. They ain't got nothing to hold on to. They can't come at you no more hoping that you'll be dumb enough to let them in. Desperate enough for you to let them in. Not. Can I please come? No. They ain't got no energy to hold on to. That's the true ascension. When you become aware. And then when your awareness gets strong enough to maintain the energetic coherence, they ain't got shit to anchor on to, because now you have raised your vibration in the essence that your awareness now become knowing. They ain't got nothing to anchor on to. That's why I'm moving from tone. The difference between me and a lot of people, I'm a very... See, they could get your ass with story, but they can't. When you move from tone, that's a whole trouble. Because now you're going to hear the tone of that story container. And you're going to know the tone of the story, because I'm taking you to the 9. The 9 is the 1. And the 1 is the 9. Hi, Dr. Delightful 1909 on the YouTube side. Gratitude for your presence. Thank you for divinely tuning into my frequency. And welcome to the family. I'm so delighted to have you. Thank you for being here. And you said facts, sound frequency and vibration. It's all about tone. Absolutely. I'm grateful. And thank you. Thank you for commenting too. I'm grateful. Hi, Sandy. Oh, gratitude. Gratitude for your presence. Thank you for being here. Wow. Yes. And so when you understand that the inverted sense of understanding about 9 being completion, 9 cannot be completion. 9 is the knowing before anything comes into form. So how is it that it's completion? 9 is not completion. 9 is the all-knowing. 9 is the aspect of source, the divine self, that is uncontaminated, that's untainted. The 8th dimensional self is mirrored. Okay? It's our 8th dimensional self, the 8th dimensional self, the 7th dimensional self, the 6th dimensional self, the 5th dimensional self. The 4th dimensional self is the emotional container for the 3rd dimensional self. Okay, they are all mirrored. The 3rd dimensional self is mirrored and inverted. The 5th dimensional self is mirrored. The 6th dimensional self is mirrored. The 7th dimensional self is mirrored. The 8th dimensional self is mirrored. The 3rd dimensional self is mirrored and inverted. The inverted aspect of the 3rd dimensional self is because of dissonance, distortion. So now when you listen to these containers, so let me break it down again for you, how that comes into the aspects. So the mirror is the polarization, polarized, right? Opposite, polar opposite. So the eighth dimensional self, right? You got your wealth vibrational self. The eighth dimensional you is where you determine how you're going to fund your reality. Is where you're going to decide to fund your reality. You're either going to fund it with abundance or you're going to fund it with lack. That's the mirrored aspect of the eighth dimensional self. If you're operating from, right, the third dimensional aspect of being. Okay? Third dimensional level of consciousness. How are you going to fund the reality in the third dimensional level of consciousness, the 3D mind? Are you going to fund it with the aspect of abundance, or are you going to fund it with the aspect of lack from the third dimensional level of consciousness? The seven dimensional aspect of self, how you going to write your story? Are you going to write your story in a state of awareness that you know about yourself, you know who you are, your surety, or you're going to write from the aspect of self that you're doubtful because you're still trying to discover yourself in the third dimensional mind, right? That's what the 3D without distortion really was. It's the discovery of self. It was the mirrored self. How you gonna figure it out? Because you had some beings that was there to remind you who you are, and you had some beings so that you could discover. So that was a mirrored version of you in the dimensional selves, so that it can mirror, so you can see who you are. So you had the polarized version all the way up to the eighth dimensional self from the third dimensional level of consciousness. Because prior to that, it was not the fifth dimensional self. You really don't need the mirroring. You didn't need the mirroring in the fifth dimensional self, the sixth dimensional self, the seventh dimensional self, prior to the third dimensional self. So how your money going, how your wealth consciousness going, whatever the wealth consciousness, however the wealth consciousness look like in the reality chosen, however the writ code look like in the consciousness, in the reality that is chosen. So now the light is how you're going to vibrationally project that reality. Okay, this is your projection, your pineal. Okay, this is what is going to project the light. Okay, your pineal is the projection. Okay, so the sixth dimensional you is the projection, how you're going to project the reality. The light projection is your sixth dimensional you. Are you going to project the light from knowing, from this knowing right here, or are you going to project it from this knowing and still trying to see? You need two eyes to see instead of one eye to see. Polar or singular? How the light codes now is going to project the reality. And then when you got to the fifth dimensional self, how you living it out? In form. But when we took that fall, that's when it changed a little bit. It got a little bit more denser. But before distortion came into the picture, right, it was just a mirror. But when it became dissonant, then it became inverted. You had to flip it and reverse it. So now when you write your story, now you can sit down and say, okay, ninth dimensional me, I'm whole. When you get to the eighth dimensional self, and then you say, okay, I'm operating from, in wholeness, I'm operating from, of course, the prosperity of me. Why would I choose lack? Now you knowing your truth. Why would I choose lack? Now you can operate from the knowing of you. You ain't got to operate from the lack of you, because ain't nothing lacking about you. Because what ninth dimensional me said, I'm whole. The ninth dimensional me say I'm whole. What the ninth dimensional say? I'm unity consciousness, the sense of completion, aware, know itself whole, and begins to play with how it might want to appear in form. It begins to think about how it wants to appear itself in form, whether it wants to appear in the essence of the lack-minded of self, or if it wants to appear in the abundance mind of self. So wherever your reality started off at, if you started off in the lack-minded and you at this phase right now, well, I'm sure you are ready to experience the abundant side of self. I'm almost sure of it. If you at this live, I'm sure you ready to experience the abundant side of self. If you on this live, if you started off in lack, thinking that your worth, everybody trying to dictate your worth in terms of your worth, and you was on the polar opposite, I'm sure you ready to go on the other side of the rainbow. I'm sure of it. I'm sure. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. I'm sure you're ready to go on the other side of the rainbow. The reason why I'm holding back my tears, you guys, and I'm going to tell you why I'm holding back my tears, is because they tried to make, in the third dimensional mind and chaos and confusion, they tried to make this thing so complicated. They said you got to go through numerology. They said that you got to go, and I'm not saying that ain't true. Don't get me wrong, because for some people, it is. People, there are beings that are choosing to go that route. And it is a truth. It is a truth for those who have chosen that path, because there's infinite possibilities. So it is a truth. It is a truth. God knows it is. It is a truth. It is. But I'm going to tell you one thing, two things, three times, four. If I didn't trust me, if I didn't trust the divine that it was within me, and this is why I'm going to always encourage you that if you feel that there's an easier route to understand the truth of you, there is. If something deep down inside, buddy love, is telling you that there is an easier route to understand thyself, there is. You can create one, because God knows I did. Because I didn't even know from what I understand, there is no such thing as quantum simplified. But guess what? I made one up. It was one for me. That brought me the clarity that I needed for me to understand myself, to bring me to the bridge that I needed to get me where I needed to get, so that I can understand my now moment for my ascensional path. And this is the thing. No ascensional path don't have to look the same. It don't have to sound the same. It don't have to, everybody way of how they're coming to their being, and it don't have to look the same. It don't have to sound the same. I'm only sharing this with you guys so that you can trust yourself. I'm sharing this path so you can trust yourself. The 9 ain't completion. It is the beginning. The 9 is 1 and the 1 is 9. Hola, Cosmos. Cosmos has into the building. I'm so divinely grateful to have you, and welcome, and thank you for being here. I'm so grateful. Yay, Kazi Kaz is here. Hi, Kazi Kaz. Yes. Right? So I'm really grateful that the clarity, and let me tell you something came to me last night. Once again, for the last maybe 2 nights in a row, I think 3 nights in a row, I've been waking up 3 o'clock in the morning. It's 3 something in the morning. I've been waking up 3 something in the morning with these messages, and it was more in essence of the higher octaves of being. Okay? And I'm like, what is this now? What is this now? And I wasn't going to do a live today. But I woke up 3 something this morning again. And I'm I'm like, okay, again. That's what I said. And then I went to Starbucks and I sat in the parking lot. I was gonna do a live this rising. And then I sat in the parking lot, hesitant, like, oh God, this sound like repeat mode. But then something came into my spirit, says that's what tuning is. You have to tune. That's what was done. Tune. You're tuning. Tune. And right now my eyes is like burning because, yeah. Tune. So here I is, with more clarity than that to which I had yesterday in yesterday's transmission. So, for those of you guys that are just coming into the live right now, there is more clarity to the dimensional selves that is bringing those, so that when you hear these stories, I'm telling you guys now, when you listen to this live, for those of you guys that may go back and listen to this live, or if you do listen to this transmission, maybe this is a one and done or whatever the case may be, but when you go back and listen to this live, you will not listen to this. These stories are going to sound different to you when you hear them. Because you're going to hear resonant tones. You're going to be able to differentiate dissonant tones. You're going to be able to differentiate whether these tones are trying to define your worth, because that's your eighth dimensional you. Because now you're going to be able to recognize your dimensional self. You're going to be able to understand your ninth dimensional self in these tones. You're going to be able to understand your eighth dimensional self in these tones. If you have written your reality in your seventh dimensional self in terms of how you see yourself in your seventh dimensional self, and you're gonna, if it doesn't fit, you're gonna muscle quit. If whatever that story, if it doesn't align with your seventh dimensional self, what you have authored in your seventh dimensional self, and if that story does not align to who you are in the authorship of your seventh dimensional self, you are not, if it's not aligned, you're not going to go. You now are going to stay in alignment to that who you truly are dimensionally. This is why they never associated and assimilated you with your dimensional selves. They always just told you you're a multi-dimensional being without explaining to you what that really meant. Because they knew if you understood what that truly meant, these stories would never fly in the third dimensional level of consciousness. You would have been able to figure that shit out left, right, front, and center. These stories would have never been able to fly, and you would have never been able to stay in that discovery my ass. Shit, that shit where you would have passed with fine colors. They wouldn't have been able to keep nobody in the third dimensional self. Because anytime, that's why I say tone, when you hear tone, these stories is not going to stick. These stories ain't going to stick because you'll be able to hear yourself. You'll be able to hear yourself. So when they come with that fear container, when they come with all of that stuff that is no longer your truth, anything that is no longer your truth that do not align with your eighth dimensional self, yourself, because your ninth dimensional self, you already know. You're whole. I just came to play. So your ninth dimensional self, I'm whole. I just came to play. I'm here. I just came to play. I just came to play. I'm already whole. I just came to play. So I know that, all right, I'm in this field of energy. So my eighth dimensional self is on the wealth tip. My seventh dimensional self is on the this tip. And I'm creating it in my sixth dimensional self as far as this. So the light gonna activate this reality. And my fifth dimensional self is gonna act it out. That's how that go. That's how that's going to play. So when these stories come, when the stories come along that don't match that fly, because you're going to get all the stories, and if it don't match your fly, if that tone don't resonate with what it is that how you want to play, you ain't gonna lie. It ain't gonna lie. You ain't gonna lie with it, because you are aware. You know. Unless you want to play dirty. Now, if you want to get dirty a little bit, but you got to be mindful. You might want to get dirty a little bit, but you know, that's on you. But at least now you know how to play. Because you may want to mix and match. You may want to go into because you can do what you want to do. The thing about it is this. You'll know how to play the game now. So when the story comes in and you hear these tones, you're gonna instantly know, oh, okay. If you're gonna know. You're gonna know these tones. Especially if you have organized these tones in your mind and you already know you're gonna try to check my worth, nigga. Ooh, sorry, y'all. I said the wrong word. That's that thug in me. That's that thug. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. When you try to check these tones and they coming at you sideways, you're gonna be like, who you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna check it. You gonna check it. Point blank and period. You ain't on that type of time. Point blank and period. Bees like that. You're not going to let that in your field of energy. Bees like that. Like they were talking about religion and different things of that nature. It depends on how that religion is flexing. You could be a part of the religion if you want to be a part of religion. Depends on how that religion is flexing. Because in the ninth dimensional self, you know that you just came here to play. You just came here to experience. You just came here. You just came here to play. As long as they don't try to. Okay, that's just like I've said the other day. When I was working in a controlled environment, I understood that I understand that it was a dense environment. It was a environment that was controlled. It was an environment that was distorted. I was working in it, right? Until they tried to control me. And when they tried to control me, that's where all hell broke loose. And then that's when I didn't want to play no more. And that was with me not even being as aware as I am now. Now, would I probably go into a construct like that because of the level of awareness that I have now? No, I ain't even trying to play like that no more, because because of what I went through in the way that it was introduced to me and how I experienced it. Nah, I ain't going back into that. Because of how I experienced it, it kind of deterred me. Maybe had I had a sense of awareness before going into that container to where I'm at now, and I go into the container in a sense of awareness, and I probably played in there in an aware state, I probably would do it if I was aware before I had that experience. But I wouldn't do it now because of the experience. Right? This is what needs to be taught. Yes, I agree, cause that's why I'm here. Because everything else is a story. It's layered. It is layered with a story. Everybody want to have a story. And I get that. And it's all dandy. But before the damn story was this. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And to know it. Before the damn story was this. Okay? Before the story was this. So I'm laying it out so that you can begin to understand the wealth you. A lot of people want to know how to make money. Flip the switch in the eighth dimensional level of consciousness. How you get there? Know that you are holding your ninth dimensional you. Know the ninth dimensional you came to play. Know the ninth dimensional you is whole. Know the ninth dimensional you is the one that is allocating all of these source codes, right? For you to understand and experience your now moment, right? That is that just know the ninth. Know that otherwise you're going to operate from the third dimensional self, okay? You're operating from the third dimensional self, and you're going to have to pick, choose, and refuse, right? You're going to have to pick, choose whether or not if you're going to mirror the experience and mirror your wealth or know your wealth. You either going to mirror your wealth or know your wealth. Pick a side. Because I'm going to tell you, when you get into this calibration of frequency, it changes the game. The only thing that really kind of like what makes people kind of is when where they choose to facilitate energetically. You know, how they want their wealth to come through. And a lot of people prefer to, you know, have their wealth come through energetically through the 3D system, through consumption. But it's changing. It's changing. It's changing. You just have to maintain a level of consistency to that to which who you are, and it'll come through. You'll start the magnetism and everything. It'll shift. You just have to know who you are, continue to be who you are, and don't worry about it. Just be that to which who you are, and just know that confidence. Just have that confidence about who you are. And know your worth. Like, really truly know who you are. Like, you just know that you that shit. Like, for real, no matter what. No, ain't nothing what nobody tell you. That magnetism, for real. Like, you just know that you the shit regardless. Like, you just know it. Can't nobody tell you nothing. Like, it ain't what nobody tell you, is what you tell yourself. And don't have no doubt about it. You came here to win. You came here to win. You came here to experience. You came here to win. You shifting the paradigm of how you experience. You no longer in the 3D. You got to tell yourself, I'm no longer in the 3D experience. I'm no longer in the 3D distorted experience. I have shifted myself into an elevated experience. However you want to experience, you have to tell yourself that. Point blank and period. When nobody, you have to tell yourself that. Even if, not even that. You ain't even got, like, I've come to the point where it ain't even about the 3D, 4D, 5D, or anything like that. Those are just marginal reference points to kind of like get us over the hump. And what it really comes down to is that I authority myself. What I tell myself is what it is. These are just marginal points to kind of give us like grid lines. You mark the point to get you to whatever. It's just to give us a reference point to how to. But all right, once you learn how to connect the dots, you know how they give us when we was in elementary school and learn how to draw. You connect 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 4 to 5, and then you draw a picture. Okay. It teach you how to draw the picture through numbers or whatever the case may be. All right, so once you done got past that, and you done learn how to do that, all right, you don't need that no more. You don't need it no more. I don't need 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 dimension no more. All I need to know is that I am that I am, and that's all that matters. No matter what dimension it is, I am that I am, and it's just for me to be. Wherever that is. However that is. These are just little points to get us through the process. But once you get acclimated and you utilize it and you realize what it is and you get to the point where you feel comfortable and safe in that place, then that's it. I am who I am. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Like, I am that I am. And what don't settle and resonate with you, that's it. That's what don't align, that's it. That's it. I don't care how good your story sounds. I don't care how true it is to you. If it don't resonate, then it's fake. If it don't fit, you must have quit. If it doesn't agree, then it ain't gonna set me free. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you gotta know thyself. Know thyself. Know thyself. I don't give a damn what the story is. If you want to celebrate Halloween, celebrate Halloween. If that shit resonate with you, then that's your business. If you want to celebrate Christmas, celebrate Christmas. Don't let nobody tell you what to do and all this other kind of stuff. If it's something that's in it that make you feel good, then you celebrate. You do what you want to do, because at the end of the day, you came your ninth dimensional self already knows that it's whole. You understand what I'm saying? It already knows that it's whole, and it came to play. It came to experience. It came to have whatever experience it chooses to have the experience. Because, see, it's a difference when you know, and it's a difference when you don't know. And when you no longer want to subscribe to that reality, then you unsubscribe. Simple. And nobody tell you how to be and why to be and what to do and why not to do and this and that or whatever. You have to decide what resonate and what no longer resonate. How you decide to write the script of your seventh dimensional self. Your seventh dimensional self in terms of the authorship. The authorship is, it don't guess. It's not asking. It knows. It's doing. It's being. It's writing in its being state. It's writing authorship. It's telling a story. And so the sixth dimensional self now is going to animate it. It's going to give light to the story so that it can animate it in your fifth dimensional you. And if that same story you want to discover how to be, then it puts it in the third dimensional self so that you can figure it out. If you want to discover that same story in the third dimensional you, mirrored. And then if you want to invert that story, and then they put it in the third density, distorted. So come on now, write your story. You know, I'm gonna try to figure out something where, you guys can, I can put something up where you guys can like print or something, where you can actually, write or something. Because for real, like, seriously, it's there. It's easy, it's there. It's not hard. It's easy, it's there. You choose. Choice, divine choice. Everybody got a wealth hustle thing, or whatever the case may be, a hustle package and all this other kind of stuff. Everybody got something where I can make money. Third density full of chaos and confusion. See it right here. It's right here, easy as pie. Ease his path. Right? But I'm not gonna take up too much of you guys' time on a Sunday because I know everybody, But I just did want to come and put that out there. Let me see if I done said what I wanted to say. Yep. Ninth dimensional self is wholeness and awareness. Eighth dimensional self is setting the attention in the tone in terms of how you want to. It's the choice maker from unity. Awareness selects the frequency of your joy, your peace, abundance, love. The intention becomes the vibration, the vibrational color you'll paint with the world, okay? The 8D self says, let this be the tone through which I create. So how are you going to create? The 8th dimensional self basically creates from unity consciousness. How are you creating? If you mirroring it, then, it's through reflection of others, okay? You're going to see it through others. You're going to try to see that through others to be reminded, okay? If you inverted it, then it's going to be the opposite of that, okay? You're going to see, it's going to be you're going to be evil as hell, all right? But basically, that's what the 8th dimensional self is. So maybe I should go through all of that. From unity awareness selects the frequency of joy, peace, abundance, love. Intention becomes the vibrational color you'll paint the world with. And the 8D self says, let this be the tone through which I create, right? And intention is the source whispering a preference into form, okay? Well, hello there, Most High. Gratitude for your presence on the IG side. I'm so divinely grateful. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for divinely tuning into my frequency. I'm so grateful to have you, okay? And then once again, of course, you guys know about the 7th dimensional self because I'm always talking about the 7th dimensional self, right? And the 7th dimensional self, from what I have here, is the authorship of perception, okay? And that's what I woke up this rising. That's what came to me this rising. What prompted me to do this live today, okay? That's what prompted me to do this live because I wasn't planning on doing a live today, but that's what prompted me to do this live. So I'm I'm doing what I'm divinely intuitive to do. And the 7th dimensional self is the authorship and perception. And what that is that's the storyteller. That is the interpreter and the storyteller. That's how you tell your story. And the 7th dimensional self, it translates intentions into experience through perception, how you perceive your reality. So, hey, Mr. Overhead, my beautiful friend, right? It translates the intention into experience through perception. Every interpretation becomes a narrative thread. So how you are perceptualizing and perceiving your reality, right? It turns into a thread, okay? It turns into a thread, how you are perceiving it, okay? When perception shifts, then the entire story rewrites, okay? So every time you change your perception of how you are seeing your reality, your 7th dimensional you is changing the writ code. That's why I say you can always overwrite your writ code. The writ codes can always be overwritten by how you choose to believe. So if somebody coming over up to you and telling you who you are, and you believe that mess, that you believe something that is that is not. Now, if they tell you in motivation to be better, to be, like if they see you a doubtful person and they want you to build your confidence and they want to build your worth and everything, and they're telling you to, build your confidence and to build your worth and stuff like that. Okay, they can try to override that writ code but ultimately you have to get permission for that to be override. You have to still be in agreement with that reality. Okay, so if they're trying to assist you to see yourself in a better light, so that light can animate that reality, because that's the next thing that's going to come, is that light so that it can animate that reality to see you in a better light. That's what that means, to see you in a better light. Because they know that the seventh dimensional self is what's going to be the part that the light is going to now begin to animate. So we can see you in a better light. That's where that comes in. So I can see you in a better light. So I can see you in a better light. So we can see you in a better light. So the seventh dimensional you is the writ so that it can become animated in light, because that's what your sixth dimensional self is. It is the aspect of what those codes come into play so that the light of you can be projected. So it can be projected, animated. Okay, see you in a better light. All right, so the seven dimensional self is the authorship. What you tell yourself, or how you perceive the perception of self, or how you perceive the reality. So, your perception of the reality is everything, because how you perceive it is how it's going to animate. So if you're walking around here thinking that it's racism, if you're walking around here thinking that it's separatism, if you're walking around here thinking that that however you see it, it's going to play out like that. That's how it's going to play out. That's what your sixth dimensional self, we're going to get to, is going to give light for, so it can animate. Okay? Now, to give you an example is that take one everyday event, a delay, a disagreement, a closed door, right? And ask, what tone am I perceiving in? And then what happens if I view it through the tone of my 8-dimensional intention? Okay? So if you're looking at it through the perception of love, your 8-dimensional self is saying, okay, the tone of the 8-dimensional self, am I looking at this through unity consciousness? Am I looking at it through it in abundance? Am I looking at this through love? Am I looking at it through through prosperity? What tone have you set in your 8th-dimensional self that your 7th-dimensional self is writing through harmony? Right. Because your 8th-dimensional self is what you have set the tone. So like I set the tone in my 8th-dimensional self, harmony, no distortion, right? It's undistorted. I set the tone right at the beginning of my lives. I set the tone, and I don't be playing. No distortion, no, unconditional love. Hell, I'm going to start setting tone, we abundant over here. I'm going to start setting the tone for all of that. We abundant over here. I'm going to start setting the tone for all of that. Y'all come over here, we abundant. Hey, that's going to be my thing when we set the live. You come over here, it's going to be unity consciousness. We're going to set the tones. Every time we come over here, we're setting the 8th-dimensional tones. The 8th-dimensional tones, our 8th-dimensional tone is going to be unity consciousness, abundance, joy, peace, abundant. What color we're going to be operating from. Okay? We're going to set the tone. That's how the prosperity aspect of state of being is commencing. So when we make this a constant setting the tune, we attune to these things, and we attune to it every day, you become it. Then you will start to see the transitioning of your state of being, because now you're attuning to it. So now when you get into the 7th-dimensional self and you start writing your stories, and then your reality you start seeing things in the reality. So now you're attuning your reality, your 7th-dimensional self, to which you've attuned to your wealth state, your abundant state, your consciousness. So now you're staying in appropriate alignment to that which you have attuned your vibrational self to be. Okay? So now you're saying to yourself, what tone am I perceiving this reality in? Because now, with my grandkids and different things of that nature, and I'm changing behaviors and different things of that nature, I can see my field shifting, because me being in this state is attuning them to also be in this state. Because I'm not angry. I'm not loud, or I'm loud, but not loud in an aggressive way. You understand what I'm saying? I'm loud in a loving way, because you can hear the tone. Because there's different tones. You can hear the tone, but my tone is a loving tone, a joyous tone, a playful tone. You know what I'm saying? They're not in fear of my tone, right? Okay. You know, the perception is going to now be different in terms because, you know, my tone is more refined by the love tone or the unity tone, right? It's different because of how I'm setting it. I'm setting the tone in a different calibration of frequency, all right? And then what that does now, it shifts everything. But let me get to the sixth dimensional stuff because I'll be long-winded, y'all. I don't want to get, let me see. And the sixth dimensional self, if I even, did I even write it down? Probably didn't. Okay, and the sixth dimensional self now is the architecture of the light, right? Now it is the blueprint of the energy before the manifestation of the reality, okay? Now this is the tone of, this is the frequency and the story that is, that becomes condensed into the sacred geometry. This is where like the mind and different things that they say, mind before matter. This is where it all comes into commencement before it begins to materialize into form, is within your sixth dimensional self, right? So your sixth dimensional self is now the sacred blueprint, right? Before it actually commences in to matter or comes in to form, okay? The sixth dimensional self, which is the architecture of light. So light codes and what we talk about, the sum of source, where source now is pulling from itself the light so that it can begin to see itself in form. Okay, so that's what that is. And thank you for the hearts, whoever sent in the hearts on the IG side. I'm grateful. Thank you. Right? All right. So the sixth dimensional self is the tone and the story condensed into sacred geometry. And it is the alignment between this level and the higher self of the triad of the seventh, eighth, and ninth dimensional self. It ensures the coherence. So this is where now all of the alignments of the ninth, the eighth, and the seventh dimensional self. So the ninth dimensional self is say, hey, I'm whole, but I'm here to play. I'm here to, I'm here to create a story. But I know I'm whole. I'm untouched. You understand? Because I'm number one. I'm numero uno. Okay? I'm numero uno. I'm number one. I'm here to play. I ain't the end. I'm the beginning. I'm the beginning. I'm the head honcho. Number 9 is the head honcho of the conscious realities. Okay? And now we're going into the essence of the aligning self. Right? So now the sixth dimensional self is sending the aligning aspect of the ninth, eighth, and seventh. Now we're going to put it all into form. Okay? So it's sending the structured light downward into the fifth dimensional experience, right? So this is where light becomes law. Light becomes law. And now the sacred geometry is now holding all of this intention, the intention of the ninth dimensional self, knowing that it's whole. There ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm whole. Ain't nothing distorted about me. I'm just here to play. I'm just here, to creating experiences, and I've agreed to experience self in vibrational states. All of these intentions that I made in my eighth dimensional self, harmony of love, prosperity, blah, 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 and all of that. Okay? And the story, the seventh dimensional self, the light that is going to now place the sacred geometry, and now that aligning aspect is now going to be projected in the fifth dimensional state of being. Okay? The fifth dimension now is the frequency plane. The frequency plane. This is you. This is you. This is you. The being now. This is you. Your world. This is you. Say no, there ain't no. This is you. Okay, you. Okay. The fifth dimensional you. This is you. This is you. I ain't separate from you. This is you. Okay. The fifth dimensional experience now is going to be full blasted from the ninth dimensional, eighth dimensional, seventh dimensional, sixth dimensional light, holding the fort down for the expressional aspect of you now having all of that to be experienced in the fifth dimensional you. In form. So now it's holding that light code is holding all of that intention in form. Okay. So now the fifth dimensional you is the projection of the living light. You. In form. Holding that light. And that's what they're saying that we're trying to ascend back into, is to be able to hold that fifth dimensional light. But we're holding it. Many of us are already holding it. A lot of y'all that's on my live is probably holding it too. More than likely, you're holding it. Okay? More likely than not, you're holding it. All right? And so the fifth dimensional projection of the living light, right? Reality in motion. Okay? Thank you, Rosa. Yeah, you holding it, girl. You show eagles. Reality in motion. Okay? The emotional resonance and physical experience of the blueprint of the intention of the ninth, eighth, seventh, and sixth dimensional you before it comes into form. So you're holding all of that intention within that is creating form. The intentional you. So that's why they say you're here on purpose. You have purpose. You're here on purpose. What is the purpose? Your ninth, eighth, seventh, sixth dimensional you is on. Hi, beautiful. Hi, Angelina. Transform. Gratitude for your presence. Thank you for divinely tuning into my frequency. Beautiful. I'm grateful. Thank you for being here. I'm grateful. Thank you for being here, Mama. You're on purpose. You are intentional. You have set intentional in your dimensional selves. Oh, I'm grateful. So good to see you too. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you, beautiful. Yeah, you here on purpose. You have divine purpose. You set the intentions. You set the intentions in your dimensional selves. And that's why I said, they say, oh, the multidimensional you are a multidimensional being. How? How many times you gonna tell me I'm a multidimensional being? But nobody never wanted to explain how we were a multidimensional being until now. How? You how many times? But because you knew if you would have explained how we were a multidimensional being, that was going to change some things. I was going to change some things if somebody broke this thing down to the lower common denominator, because once we understood how this thing was a multidimensional being and how we were a multidimensional being, and we figure out that 9 was 1 and 1 was 9, and it was the 9 that was the first. It wasn't no 9, wasn't no completion. 9 is a damn beginning. You inverted the whole damn thing. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We are a multidimensional being, all right. You try to make it seem like the multidimensional being was that, or we were some alien or something like that. Oh, what a day. What a day, what a day, what a day, what a day. Clarity. Clarity. What a day, what a day, what a day, what a day. What a day. Oh, yeah, we multidimensional, all right. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinking a multidimensional being Oh, I'm alien, I'm from Pleiades, and I'm Andromedan, and oh yeah, that could very well be also true too. In the story aspect of the multidimensional aspect of your seventh dimensional self, and the eighth dimensional self, and the story written, all this other kind of stuff, but nobody ain't telling the other parts of what this multidimensional aspect of being really means when you're trying to experience. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 But that's all right. I mean, hey, what you say, Kai? Sure ain't. But it's all good, because when you want to know, the source of you within will reveal it to you. And when you want to know, they say be careful what you ask for, because it'll come. It will definitely come. If you want clarity, you will surely get it. If you, it will come. Like, it will definitely come. So they say be careful what you ask for. So here you go. It is. I wanted clarity, so here it is. Yeah, right. It's right here. It is. All right. So the fifth dimensional projection, the emotional resonance and physical experience of the blueprint, right? You become the walking design of your higher selves, okay? The higher multidimensional you. When light meets feeling and life begins, okay? So now all of the beautiful aspects of you that have come in with intention, in terms of your pure, your intentional aspect of being. And one may decide to say, well, when you're birthed into the world as a baby and you're born, who set the intention? Okay, so that's the ninth dimensional you. That's source. Source is the aspect of that sets the intention. But what happens is, and that, like they say, when you come into the world, even in the third dimensional aspect of being, when you come into the world, you come in with a blank slate. But sometimes you come in with 3D parents, or you tune into a 3D, when you get into a particular state, when you become aware, you kind of pick what channel you resonate with. Like, for instance, I'll give you an idea. My grandson, right? My grandson won't tune into certain densities. He refused. Walk right out. He won't attune to certain densities. He won't attune. And it's not to say that he don't love certain people or whatever, but he won't attune to certain frequencies. So there are certain beings, even as children, they won't attune to certain frequencies based off of their soul imprint, or how they chose in their ninth dimensional selves, to experience the reality. They may have came in a particular way, but they did not attune to experience certain aspects of frequency bands. Right? So you'll know. You'll just know. You will be uneasy, and you'll know. You'll know. You'll definitely know. So I brought us all the way down to the fifth dimensional selves. If you guys, want me to kind of, bring some clarity of the third dimensional self, You know, I can, so that you can understand how to release yourself of it, but most of what I'm saying here is the release. It really is the release from the ninth dimensional you. If you understand the ninth dimensional you and how to overwrite the third dimensional script, the discovery script, or the inverted script, the script of, am I worthy enough? You know, all of these, you know, misaligned aspects of self. Because the true self is that I am whole, I am complete, I am, you know, the true self, the true wealth is that you are infinite, you are abundant. That's the true self. And I know that the program may tell you something different, but you got to understand that that's all that it is. It's just a program. And if you no longer want to experience that program, you have to look at it for what it truly is, and then select your truth in truth. Choose you. Because it's not until you choose yourself is when you're going to let go of what no longer serves you. And like I said, I'm going to continue to do these lives and set the tone in. I will begin to set the tone in the 8th dimensional self and the 7th dimensional selves. And, you know, in the comments, write down some of the things that you guys need help with in terms of what it is that in your writ that you want to see, and I can attune it. I can attune it, and I'll put it in. I'll do it. Like, this is a village, you guys. Collaboration. Ain't nobody in no competition in your 5th dimensional self, right? Ain't nobody in no competition. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Kazi. Ain't nobody in no competition in your 5th dimensional self, right? We're in collaboration, right? We in co-creation, collaboration, right? We're here to raise the frequency, raise the vibration, unity consciousness. That's what the 9th dimensional aspect of the divine self is, in knowing that it is unified, it is whole. So if I'm aware of that, why would I not express that in my dimensional selves? Because I'm aware of it. I know better, so I have to do better. So, you know, why not express that? And just I'm already expressing it. I'm remembering. I'm exampling it, remembrance of it. So why not? Okay. So in the comments or whatever, go ahead and put it in comments however you guys would like to, you know, what is it that you want? You know, what is it that you want to express? What it is you want to be reminded of? You know, and we can work on it. We can do that. And sure, absolutely. Absolutely. All right? Absolutely. Thank you for the love and a little smiley face at that. I'm grateful. I take it all. You can do it. So I'm going to begin to in my closures, as well as in my beginning phases, I'm going to put that in the breath work in terms of the clearing of the field, to set the intention of our 8th dimensional self, and our 9th dimensional self in wholeness, and our 8th dimensional self to set the intention. And thank you, Kazi. And our breath work. And so our breath work, we, let me see for a second, hold on. I need the harmony and clarity. Okay, so hold on. Let me write that down. We're going to put that in the closing too. So in the beginning of the breath work, let me write that down. Harmony and clarity. Harmony and clarity. All right, so I'm gonna put that in. All right, and Okay, so that's all, everybody. Okay, so Rosa said harmony and clarity. All right, so in the breath cadence, we're going to do 737. And so for those who want to participate, we're going to do 737 in the breath work. And so I'm going to stabilize the field with the harmony, clarity, unity, awareness, frequency, joy, peace, abundance, and love. And the let's see, the iridescence. Do you guys? I'm putting iridescent colors. Iridescent colors. And say, let this be the tone through which I create. All right. And let this be the tone through which we create. All right. All right. So in the ending of this live, right, we're going to end this transmission, of course, in divine, sacred, unconditional love without being absorbed, right? And so therefore, in our eighth dimensional self, we're going to set the tone, right? In unity consciousness, awareness, right? And setting the frequency of harmony, joy, clarity, peace, abundance, love. And this intention is going to become the vibrational color of iridescent, where we will begin to paint the world in this color and let this tone be the tone through which we create. And we're going to set this in our field of energy and let this breath work be the breath work that stabilizes our field as well as our nervous system. And we're going to also, yes, multi-dimensional blissful living indeed. Yes, golden sugar. Yes, indeed. And we're going to move in the breath work of 737 to settle this awareness, right? To settle this awareness and to also make our feel for the eighth dimensional self more expansive. All right. So we're going to do inhale 7 through our nose, hold for 3 counts, and exhale 7 through our mouth. And we're going to do this 3 times. All right. And we shall begin now. Okay. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Wow. Gratitude. Gratitude. Okay. Whew. Gratitude. All right. So thank you guys for being here. I'm so divinely grateful. Thank you, Joy Joy. I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope that this live serve its intentional aspect of everything. I'm so divinely grateful. As I said, this should take you to where it needs to be. And if you like this live, please do not I'm grateful, Rosa. Thank you, beautiful. If you like this live, please do not. Thank you, Kazi Kaz. I'm grateful. Thank you. Please subscribe and join our family on the YouTube side as well as the Instagram side, right? And of course, like, subscribe, and please share the live if you feel that this live is share worthy. Thank you, Mr. Over. Yes, indeed. Over the rainbow, we have arrived. We have arrived, Mr. Over. We are over. I'm grateful. And if you feel that the live is share worthy, please definitely share the live. And once again, if it resonates, they'll watch it. If it's not, it will repel. Trust, it will repel if it's not for them. But you never know, if they may be open to it, it may be able to attune them into a higher calibration of an experience, right? All right, and we shall do this again on the next go round. All right, I love you guys, and once again, we have set the attention, and I'm so divinely grateful. All right, I love you guys. Talk to you guys on the next time. Later.